This episode of Angles is brought to you by Richmond Personal Injury Attorneys. Expect high-level communication, transparency, and cutting-edge technology to keep your case moving. Expect a legal team that's laser-focused and moves fast to get the results you deserve. When the unexpected happens, expect Richmond Vona. Learn more at richmondvona.com, 192 Seneca Street, Buffalo, New York. Welcome to Angles, the podcast where we dig into the stories behind impactful people and explore the sharp turns, daily decisions, and defining moments that shape how they got to where they are and how they keep moving forward. I'm John Richmond, and every week I sit down with guests who are building bold, meaningful lives and careers in Buffalo and beyond. If you enjoy these conversations, please hit follow, subscribe, drop a comment, or share the episode. It's a simple way to help us grow with the community and keep these stories coming. Sal Capaccio is the ultimate Buffalo sports insider, the voice on the sideline, in your podcast feed, and often the first to break major Bills news. His journey started with a love of sports and a gift for storytelling, but the path wasn't a straight line. From coaching high school football and teaching social studies to taking a chance on a part-time radio job that brought him back to Buffalo. Sal has built a trusted brand that's as much about character as it is about commentary. On today's episode, we talk about building relationships, navigating criticism, and what it takes to succeed in modern sports media and in life. I'm really excited to be joined by the one and only Sal Capaccio today. I know most of you already know who he is, but Sal, we really appreciate you being here.
Yeah, thanks a lot. Appreciate you having me, man.
So look, I want to kind of jump right into it, and I would love for you to kind of just take us through your journey. You know, I know some people have really traditional paths to how they get to where they are today, but I'd love to kind of hear how you just generally got to, the position you are in today.
Yeah, I did not take a linear path in a lot of ways. It started off that way. I kind of knew I wanted to be in sports broadcasting when I was pretty young. I was always an athlete growing up, and, I wanted to, play whatever, be MLB, be a center fielder for the Yankees, or be a wide receiver in the NFL. But, at some point you realize that, you're not big enough or tall enough or whatever it is enough. And, but I always wanted to still be involved in sports. So I had found out at a young age that, I could, people actually can go to school to be a broadcaster. And Syracuse University was a place that was producing a lot of great broadcasters, Bob Costas, Don Criqui, Marv Albert, Dick Stockton, Ted Koppel from Nightline, Dick Clark, it goes on. And I said, I want to go do that and, go to the best school in the country for it. So went through Cleveland Hill High School in Cheektowaga and wound up, getting into Syracuse. It was great. And I went there and I jumped right into the college radio station. Z89 is what it's called. WJPZ, one of the best college stations in the country. We always say WJPZ is the greatest radio classroom in the country. It's an actual radio station, but it's treated like a pro station. And I learned a lot from there, and, jumped in, did some TV work at Syracuse as well at the college station, and then got a job at my first radio job after Syracuse was at a small radio station in a sleepy town in Florida called Englewood. It's on the West Coast, a little south of Sarasota. And I knew somebody to work there. One of my friends in high school, his cousin was running the station. And he said, if you want to come down here and, be on the radio, great. He said, you have to sell airtime. I'm like, yeah, sure. I could sell. I could talk to people. Well, one of the things I despised in my life was selling radio airtime, but it was a way for me to get on the air. And I moved. I moved at the age of 22. I moved down to Englewood, Florida, and I lived in this, sleepy town. And it was great to start my career there, but we were doing literally like little league baseball play-by-play, which was really cool because we're in this small town and all the grandmas and grandpas owned like these businesses and we'd sell it to them, which was really cool. And during the day I would go to these mom and pop stores. You want to advertise on the radio. And it's kind of like the worst part of my day and all that. But I was also getting on the air, and a lot of my friends who had gone into radio, they weren't getting on air jobs, which was really cool. In the meantime, we were the affiliate for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and Miami Dolphins and Florida State. So I got to kind of, be behind the scenes and work the board at this, station while it was carrying it, through the other stations and pushing commercials and buttons and stuff, making some, contacts as well. Well, anyway, this town was also so there wasn't much going on. So I love sports so much. I said, I want to be involved. And our radio station actually sponsored a little league baseball team. So I said, I'll help coach the team. So I started coaching, and I was a football player and baseball player growing up and really loved it. and it was great. And we had some success and got along with the parents, and then started coaching Pop Warner football. And after about a year of that, the local high school coach came to me and he said, "Hey, you really, you're good with these kids. You don't have any kids here. You're doing it for the right reasons. I'd like you to join my high school staff." I said, "Yeah, that sounds cool. I'd love to coach high school football." So I started coaching high school football in Florida, and I went a spring. Now down there, they have spring football like they do college,
Right.
just for high school. And I loved it so much. I said, you know what? I'm still in my 20s. It's not really advancing. When you're young, I think you have this ambition that no matter what, whatever job you get, whether you're a lawyer or in radio or whatever, you're going to be at the top of your profession within 5-6 years, right? You're going to make all this money and be on ESPN or in a courtroom, and you're a few good men, and you're Tom Cruise, right? And you know the way it goes. But that's not reality. Right. So you're not making a lot of money, and you're hitting your head up against the ceiling. And I said, you know what, maybe this isn't for me. Maybe I want to be a coach. So I had some friends that were coaching, and I said, in fact, maybe I probably need to be a teacher then. So I actually went to the high school and I said, I want to maybe be a coach here. So I guess I should be a teacher. And they said, yeah, sure. So I literally went to the University of South Florida, got certified to teach. I became a high school social studies teacher for 10 years. And I taught American history and government, economics, macroeconomics, intro to social studies, world history. It was great. I taught kids with ESE disabilities, like learning disabilities. I taught kids, they put me in the behavioral unit, like kids that were not allowed to be with the rest of the population because they had a lot of things going on. And it was great. And in the meantime, I was coaching football, loving it. Became the head girls track coach. We won 4 district championships in 6 years, sent like 3-4 girls at least off to run in college. It was awesome. But I'd always think, man, I really miss being in radio. I want to be in radio. And right around that time, podcasting started, and podcasting was super new and no one knew about it. And I saw this thing online. It said, "Oh, do you want to be a podcaster and talk about your favorite team and people can hear you?" I'm like, "Oh, should do this about the Bills." And I started working for this podcasting company. It was very, very new. It's called mysportsradio.com. And I started doing podcasting. I remember it was maybe 07 or 08, and I was doing it. And it was even before that, maybe 06. And people were literally making fun of me. I remember people saying, "Oh, there's some guy, some wannabe radio broadcaster. And, he's just a guy in Florida. He's in mom's basement, turning on a microphone." And, but I was passionate about the Bills, and I wanted to talk about it. And at the same time, a couple of years later, WGR had an opening, and I applied for it. They really liked me, but they said, "We can't hire you full time because you have a full-time job. We don't have a full-time job here. We have a part-time job. So sorry, we're not going to bring you up here for that." And I basically said, "Listen, that's for me to decide. I'm an adult. You tell me what the deal is and I'll make that decision." And the program director at the time, Andy Roth, said, "Okay, if you want to come up here at some point, I'll give you a job, but you're starting over in radio and you're making bad money for bad hours. And that's up to you." Well, a few years later, my wife was I'd met her when I went back to South Florida to get certified. She was getting her master's degree in substance abuse and mental health counseling. And she had left her job and she was going into another one. And she said, "Listen," she goes, "I know how much you want to go to Buffalo." She said, "If you really want to do it, I'm going to switch jobs. Now's the time." This was 2010.
Wow.
She said, and my wife's from Germany originally, and we had come up here a couple of times, and she's like, "I could live in Buffalo. The weather's kind of similar to Germany." Funny story. She ran the Buffalo half marathon, and she kind of fell in love with the city by running the marathon and seeing the city, and said, "I could live here. It's a pretty cool place." Right. And she said, "But if you want to do it, we got to do it. We're not going to stay here and have a family and then move. We don't have any kids right now." And I said, "Okay, you know what?" I called Andy Roth. I said, he was the program director at the time. I said, "You told me I could, go up there." He said, "All right." He said, "I'll hire you, but you're going to start at the bottom." I was 37 years old. I always joke I'm the only man who ever voluntarily left Florida to move to Buffalo, New York. But I also did it by leaving literally a job that I could have been for the next 25 years, totally safe, secure, pension, everything. I was playing golf twice a week. I was having my summers off, and I left it all to come back to Buffalo, New York to start over in radio. And when I did it, I literally, to make ends meet, because I was not making any money, or, I was filling in, as I started off filling in everywhere. I was substitute teaching for like $100 a day in the city, normally South Park High School. But the funniest thing happened was right when I got hired, Andy left. The guy who hired me literally left before I got here. I was scared. I saw he was leaving. He said, "Don't worry, people know you're coming. Who should you talk to?" I came up blind, but it was kind of a blessing in disguise because the new program director came in, Alan Davis, who's my program director now. And he just knew me as a guy who works there. not this guy who just moved up to start over. He's like, hey, I like this guy, Sal. He hustles. He knows his stuff. I'm going to start putting him on these shows. And it kind of turned out as a better thing for me in the long run. And Andy gave me my start, and I thank him to this day. And then because he went to Cleveland to run their station. Now I think he's in Atlanta. But Alan's really the one that kind of started giving me the opportunity to get on the air. And then that was 2011. In 2012, the Bills, we got their rights. We didn't have their rights at WGR. We had their rights. And as soon as that happened, that's when things really started to happen for me. And I started getting on the broadcasts. And then Joe Buscaglia was there and he left. And I became the beat reporter, sideline reporter, and all that.
That's an amazing story. And there's actually a lot of, I think, pretty great lessons baked into what you just talked about. I think that a lot of people, some of which actually I'll say resonates a lot with me, and then that a lot of people can really learn from. And I want to go back to, you're teaching, like you said, you have this great gig, everything's going well, you're coaching, you're living in a nice place. Was there like one moment or just something that just made you say, like, I have this passion, I need to, take a shot at it? Was there like one like kind of breaking point, or was it kind of like an accumulation of things?
It had been an accumulation, but there was one moment that ultimately got me there. And actually what happened was we were actually in football, coaching high school football. We were very good for a little while. Like we had some really good teams and I was learning a lot. I'm so glad and thankful I coached high school football in the state of Florida, where I learned so much about coaching and the game, really from an inside level and how things work. It's very, very, it's very competitive, and you have a lot of people who have a lot of skin in the game. But that being said, you can also be around a lot of people who aren't in it for the right reasons necessarily. And we were actually on the staff I was on. We had this coach that had played college football, and he was a little older than me. I was at the time in my 30s. He was probably in his 40s. And the way that he kind of talked to kids, to me, was not the way you talk to kids. And I'm not saying like inappropriate, mean. He was trying to be their friend more than their coach. And I didn't think it was appropriate. And there were a lot of things that happened that kind of got me to, I can't be around this. Like, I don't want to be around this. This isn't me. And when I said we were really good, so we were really good for a while, and then we got kind of not very good. That's the ebbs and flows of high school sports, right? Or any team kind of. But then we were just not good. And the head coach I worked for, he had gone through a divorce. Maybe he wasn't doing the same things, and kind of it became more of a grind than it was something happy to look forward to every day to go and coach. And I love coaching, but it wasn't truly my passion. And I realized every day, like when I was at practice, I almost couldn't wait to leave practice to go talk about sports or be on. I was, through this time, I was still kind of maintaining my hand in it a little bit. I would go up to Sarasota. I'd fill in on a radio station I got in touch with. I'd do some TV work, but very, very little. But that became more of like, oh man, I enjoy this. Whereas coaching, as much as I did love it, being in this environment wasn't good for me. And what happened was we were playing a team where a crosstown rival, basically. And the guy I'm referring to, I didn't really think was appropriate enough. The kids loved when he gave the pregame speeches, because this guy swore a lot and he said things that he just shouldn't say in front of 14 to 17, 18-year-old kids. But they loved him because that's what teenagers, this coach, right? And we all get into this like field house before the game. And he starts giving this pregame speech that I will tell you that I was horrified. And I was really, really embarrassed to be around that, and said that night, that moment, I said, I can't do this anymore. Like, this is not me. The head coach kind of let it go, you know what I mean? And didn't say anything. And I said, I don't want to be around this anymore. I don't enjoy this environment. And it was kind of that moment when literally the next day I walked into the head coach's office and said, hey, I'm going to finish out the year, but there's some things in radio that I want to start doing. And actually, before I came up to Buffalo, there was a period of 2 years where I didn't coach, and I started my own company actually. And I actually went to high school games around the region and did play-by-play and recorded. I hired a kid that was in my class. I gave him a job. He shot the game. I did play-by-play. I hired a color analyst, and we did the games, and we would give it to the local cable access channel, and they would play the game weekly. It was the weekly game of the week produced by Capaccio Media. And that was what I did for 2 years to get kind of back in the game without coaching.
Again, like, I love that. It's like, you got to start someplace. And you were talking earlier about, I was like laughing when you were talking about, when you're young, you're in law school or whatever you're in, whatever your path is, you're like, yeah, I'm going to be the best in 3 years. And you think it's all going to come to you quickly. And really, I think what you learn is Yeah, you're defined by, your resilience or your pain tolerance or your ability to push forward with that delayed gratitude. And I was thinking about when you whether that was a story you just told or talking about how you were saying like some people are kind of giving you crap for starting the podcast in your basement at a time when no one really had podcasts.
And
You
by the
know,
way, let me just be clear. I wasn't actually in my basement. I was in my room, and it was like it would look. But
fair enough.
people, the old because
Yeah,
the
yeah,
movie. You know the movie, Mom, the
yeah.
Meatloaf. What is that? I don't even. What is that movie? Is it Wedding Singers or what? The
Wedding
Wedding
Crashers.
Crashers,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
Right. And Will Ferrell,
Yeah,
Mom, the Meatloaf, and he's in his basement or whatever.
yeah.
And like that's where it came from. Oh, there's some guy in Mom's basement living at home, right? Which wasn't true, but anyway, go ahead.
Well, hey, it's okay. No shame. Our first law office, we were literally in a ground unit, apart, like basically ground level unit, which basically was a basement. So
There you go.
I get it, but you got to start someplace. But how did I mean, what's advice you'd give to somebody who's starting to follow their passion and maybe they're taking heat from other people or there's always critics. Like, how do what would you tell to somebody to kind of keep moving forward?
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, you have to really have some personal conviction and personal belief in what you're doing is right for you. Right. And it's hard. It's certainly hard. It's not easy to face that. Look, I faced it when we moved to Buffalo. I was also, to make some money at night, I was bartending at a sports bar for a while. And I remember, and by the time I'd moved, I wasn't bartending anymore, but I'd still go there and I had friends there and we'd hang out. And I remember friends of mine for years, they'd say, why would you move to Buffalo? What are you doing? Like, it was almost like this. Oh my God, they were just so like terrified or they were horrified about it. And I'm like, dude, it almost made me more like, instead of me going, oh yeah, you're right. I'm like, no, I'm going to show you, but that's me. Right. And I don't know. It's hard to do that. I think a lot of times because it does creep in. And, I even had family members going, what, why would you? Because they're worried about you, right? Not because they don't think you can succeed, but, oh man, you're leaving this job and you're going to go to Buffalo to start over in radio and you don't even know what's around the corner. Because you have this really good job with health insurance and all this. And it's tough. But if you have that conviction and belief in yourself, athletes always say, I'm betting on myself, right? That's what athletes always say. And I think you have to have that same mentality. You got to bet on yourself. Bet on yourself. If you know that you have passion and you can do it, look, I mean, America truly is a a land of opportunity. And I know that I'm the son of an Italian immigrant. My father never graduated high school. Well, he got his GED so he can go in the army during Vietnam era, right? Like I always say, my buddy always says, I don't say this about myself. I have a friend who's also an attorney and he's like my best friend for 40 years. And he always says, Sal's a self-made man. And that's right. Like, I'm self-made, though, because I had this belief and conviction in myself. And I don't say that to be braggadocious. I say it because I think that it takes that to have to do it, to get to that point. And you do have to kind of face people who tell you, you can't do it. I had friends tell me I'd never go to Syracuse, right? I mean, I'm still paying loans. Right? And, and like, it was not easy on my mom and on my dad, but you know what? That's what we did. And you kind of have to have that belief in yourself that you're going to do to be the best at it, or at least in your mind, complete kind of the objective of what you're trying to do.
Yeah, I agree. And I think, again, this resonates a lot with me. I think, as human beings, we're capable of a lot more than I think a lot of us realize. And sometimes, as scary as it is to pull the plug on maybe a current job or whatever to follow your passion, when you back yourself into a corner, it's pretty amazing what you're capable of, especially if you're working towards something you truly love and you're truly passionate about. And, I just love hearing the story about, again, you're willing to do whatever it takes. You're willing to work at night. You're willing to, do whatever you got to do to get to where you are today. And I just think that sometimes, those little stories or those events along the way get lost because you just kind of see somebody like in like, not necessarily that we're ever a finished product, but you kind of see them once they've gotten to the place where now you're noticing them and you don't see all the kind of the lessons learned along the way.
Yeah, and I think it's important that, listen, as much as I had critics or people telling me, oh, why are you doing this? So many people also supported, right? And said like, oh, this is amazing. Like, you're going to be awesome, right? Like you do with your kids, your friends. That's the way you should be. And I say to people, one of the pieces of advice I do give people is surround yourself with people who support you. Surround yourself with people who are there to help you and to tell you and be every person you meet. I try to teach my son this. My son's 11 years old. And I always tell my son, every person you meet can be a resource to you and you can be a resource for them. And you can help each other along the way. It doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be today. I am still meeting. There's still people that I've met years ago that they reach out to me or I reach out to them because something happens along the way and you might need to have a resource, right? And that's a really big component of it. So no doubt about it. I think having that belief in yourself, but you got to have people that believe in you too. You got to have people that support you.
Oh yeah, 100%. I mean, I think about my family, my friends, and yeah, along the way, sometimes you lose quote unquote friends who maybe weren't really your friends anyways because they're not supporting you. And I think yeah, having that positive environment around you is everything. It could be the difference between making it and not making it because you really do need that support to get you through those tough times and to kind of keep out all the negativity or the question of yourself. Because I don't know about you, but like no matter you gain a little bit of success as you move up and you keep working hard. But I still always feel like like a charlatan at times, or like I don't belong in places. And I think it just kind of helps me to keep pushing forward. But again, with the support of family members.
Yeah, I get that, and I'm still kind of living that life in a lot of ways, which is like I get asked to do a lot of things and be around a lot of people, and sometimes I'm like, how the hell did I get here?
Yeah.
Right. And it's such a source of pride. Like I always tell people this funny, like kind of anecdote, which is like, I grew up loving Thurman Thomas, right? Like, oh my God, Thurman 34 and going to games. And like now I'll be on the sidelines and he'll text me, why the hell are they running the ball like that? You know what I mean? Like, and this is Thurman Thomas and I, like we have this relationship, right? And he's my friend and we play golf or whatever, those things. I used to cover the Jim Kelly Celebrity Golf Classic. I now play in the Jim Kelly Celebrity Golf Classic, right? Yeah. I mean, these are things that I'm like, how did this happen? But it is, and I pinch myself and I never want that to go away. I do think though, not everybody's, I know I'm very self-aware, and I will tell you that I'm definitely way more of a positive, optimistic person than most people in life. And I don't think there's anything wrong with not being like that. I'm just a little bit more. People might say I'm too Pollyanna. I get it, right? Like I look at everything too. The biggest criticism of me when I'm on the radio is, oh, you're a homer. You don't criticize the team. Like I'm very self-aware of that. And I always say, no, it's not that. It's just that I'm just not that kind of person. I always look at, okay, what is the positive of this, right? Before I go right to the negative. That's what I do with anything in life. It's not about the Bills or what I talk about on the radio. And maybe that's not someone's style for my profession and when they listen to me. But it's certainly not just endorsing everything. It's more of, okay, like I want to look at how this could be good or positive and what's going on here.
Yeah. And look, I mean, I think it takes a lot more energy to be positive and to be kind, right? To look at like the world half full or glass half full instead of half empty. I think honestly, it's a lot easier just to be negative. And I think that's a skill set that I always try to tell myself. My wife always tells me, hey, it's going well. Like, don't worry. Cause I'm always worrying about stuff, cause I'm, we're trying to make all these right decisions, but I think you should be positive. And, it's actually something I wanted to ask you about because I actually do think you're objective. And yeah, I think you're positive, but you're objective. And I've heard you, call the Bills out. You grade them after games and you say, hey, this didn't go well. This did go well. Doesn't mean you have to be mean about it. It's Correct. Like, hey, I'm giving my analysis, my objective analysis. How do you, especially knowing that you grew up a Bills fan, how do you kind of maintain that objectivity?
I think that there's a fine line to walk sometimes, and especially have to understand, and let's be honest, we are the flagship station of the Buffalo Bills, right? We have a partnership with them, right? They don't tell us what to say. That's not, that there's a narrative out there. I mean, we all know what happened a few weeks ago, Brandon Beane being on our radio station and Jeremy White and all that thing, right? Sometimes you can butt heads, you can have disagreements. The one thing I was told many years ago by somebody within the Bills organizations who not there anymore, but really resonate with me, said, Sal, like, if we suck, say we suck. Just be fair about it. Right? Like there's no need for cheap shots. And I agree with that. But that sits with me fine because I'm not like that. Because if they do suck, I'm not taking cheap shots. Right? That's just not who I am. Because plenty of times over the years through the drought and before all this that I could have certainly done that in a lot of different ways. Right? But I don't do that. So for me, it kind of, this role I'm in fits me for that personality. So when you say be objective, I just always have to be mindful that my job is to tell people the good and the bad or both sides of it. And when you say good and bad, it doesn't have to mean there are people who just want me to go on the radio and give hot takes all day. That's not me. I don't do that. I'm not going to tell you like people might say, I get this one guy I know that like was tweeting at me recently telling me that, oh my God, like you think everything's great. I say, no, I didn't say it's great. I'm not going to tell you it's horrible, but you're not going to hear me say it's great either. Like just because I don't say it's horrible doesn't mean I'm not gonna say it's great. Social media, we have a saying in the media that social media and like Twitter is a place where if you say I love waffles, somebody might come back and say, well, why do you hate pancakes? That's not true, right?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That's not what I said,
Yeah.
right? So I think it's a long way of me kind of trying to describe. So how do I be objective? Like, I know my job is to give analysis and be fair, tell you what I liked, tell you what I didn't like. It's also to make sure that I'm kind of bringing the correct type of information to the fans. And one thing I always try to do is give insight into what the Bills are doing. I'm not agreeing or disagreeing with the Bills are doing. I'm giving insight. And I think what happens, John, is people take that as agreement, right? So let's just take, for example, the Bills re-signed Tre'Davious White, right? They did in March. And there's plenty of people who think, oh my God, I can't believe it. He's older. They should have done this. It's a bad contract, whatever. So I'll say, okay, here's why they did it. And to some people, that's like, well, why aren't you criticizing it? I'm not telling you it's great either, though. I'm giving you insight into why they did it. That to me is more important.
Agreed. Like you want to know why they're making these decisions, or at least why
Correct.
I believe they're making these decisions based on the information I have. And
That's
that
exactly
should be,
right.
yeah, really valuable.
So on that vein, though, and I'll say one of the things is, there's this narrative. And there's also talk out there. I'm trying to squash a lot of narratives here, if you can tell. People say like, "Oh, you're just so afraid of protecting sources or protecting and being friendly with the people." No. But there is an element to, like, I think it's important for me to have relationships where people trust me.
Of course,
right? So I listened to the audiobook by Jay Glazer called Unbreakable. And Jay Glazer wrote a book and they made it to an audiobook. It's called Unbreakable. And the reason I listened to it was last year, specifically happened last year after the Bills lost against the Eagles in that game where they didn't, was it last year? It was 2 years ago. I'm sorry. 2 years ago. When they sat on the ball before overtime and then, they didn't score. And I went on the radio and I was harsher on McDermott than I normally am. Right. I'm like, man, he, definitely should have done that, whatever. But people were still like, you should have killed him. I can't believe it. Like they wanted flamethrowers. They wanted me to throw bricks at him and all this kind of stuff. Right. And it was just really vile going. It was just super contentious on social media, time where I just wanted to step back. And I got to a place I didn't like. You know what I mean? Like, I just can't believe like I don't like this. I was kind of fighting with people. It's not me. I don't want to do that. And my wife said to me, she goes, Jay Glazer has this book and he does what you do. And it's all about this kind of stuff, Unbreakable, and you should read it. So I downloaded the audiobook. And that's the reason why I did it in the first place. So I went through this audiobook. Now, Jay Glazer wrote it because he had depression and anxiety. I don't have depression. I don't think I've never gone through that, but I will say, I think I have a lot of anxiety about a lot of these things we're talking about. My wife has always kind of told me that I do. And in this book, he said, it really resonated with me. He talked about when he was a beat reporter for the New York Giants as a young beat reporter. He said he would go in the locker room and he would kind of be friendly with players and talk with them and get stories. And he said the other people on the beat killed him. They hated him. Like all these colleagues, they were crushing him. You're at home or you're making friends. And Jay Glazer's response was, no, I'm not. I'm building relationships.
Yeah.
It's important to have that trust because when those guys, when they actually have a story, they're going to come to me and trust that I put it out the right way and do it the right way. And it's okay if I am negative or criticize them because I've built that emotional trust. And that resonated with me so much when I heard that story.
Yeah. I mean, these are human beings. They are high performing human beings. They are the first ones to know when they've made a mistake.
Yeah.
And lots of times, most of the time, it's nowhere near as black and white as people think it is, but it's easy to jump all over them. I always think, like, imagine if we were watching people in their workplaces every time they made a mistake. And they're human. No one's perfect. And I respect that. I mean, you have to build these relationships with them, and earn their trust. And yeah, they know, like, hey, Sal's probably going to, say that we didn't do something great today or we should have done something else, but he's going to do it in a fair way. And we respect him for it because, what's the alternative? What, you go out there and just crush these guys all the time? And
then nobody wants to talk to you.
That's what I mean. And then there's no information to share.
Correct.
And then we're all screwed.
Right. I mean, it might make for a good headline or a good radio segment for me to go on the air and go, screw this guy. He sucks and all that. What's the point after that? Once the show is over, yeah, that's really nice. It went viral on social media. Guess what happens? Next time I go in the locker room, that guy ain't talking to me. And listen, the objective isn't because, oh my God, I got to have that guy like me. The objective is if I go on the radio though and say, man, like he did not have a good day today. Like, here's what happened. At least I'm creating a situation where, because I have to go in the locker room and talk to these guys, right? Where we can have a conversation about it and they trust me. It doesn't have to be all roses and everything's got to be great, but they know that, I mean, a great example is last year, maybe 2 years ago, whatever it was, there was a play that was very hotly debated. I won't even get into the specifics here, but there was a play hotly debated on whose responsibility it was. The Bills got beat on a play. And everybody's talking like, because you have all these people with all 22 and they're looking at the video and, oh, this is the linebacker and this is the corner and this is the safety. And people were like really debating who it was. I'm like, all right, I'm going to find out here. So I went to a practice, and afterwards I pulled up the play in my video. I went to a player and I said to this player, who's a starter on the team, and I said, hey, there's a really big debate going on. Can you tell me what happened here? And he looked at me and goes, if I tell you what happened there, where's this going? And I go, I need it for my information. I'm not putting it out there. I'm not telling you, you told me. Okay. I said, I needed to know because when people talk about it, I want to be able to better talk about what happened. Okay. And he goes, yeah, that's on me.
That's accountability.
Right. And he didn't, I understand why he wouldn't want it out there publicly because all of a sudden it becomes something it's not supposed to be. But he trusted me enough to say that's on me, knowing that when it gets talked about, I'm going to say, yeah, that was on that guy. Not that guy told me, but I know it.
We'll be right back after a word from our partners.
After an accident, life can be scary, stressful, tricky. You need Richmond Bona to help navigate the process because getting a life-changing settlement can not only take time, it can take an emotional toll. The team at Richmond Bona provides high levels of support through all the ins and outs, so you get the settlement you need and the new beginning you deserve.
When the unexpected happens,
expect Richmond Bona.
Now back to the conversation. How do you approach preparation each week? I mean, you do a lot. I mean, like I know you're filling in on the morning show this week and but you're all over the place, especially during the season. Is there do you have like a routine you go through or like how do you prepare for each week or maybe even for a game?
Well, there's a lot of different roles I have. So I have the reporter role, the host role, and the game day role. Which one would you like me to talk about? They're all different.
I mean, whatever one you want to lead off with, maybe the one, I mean, I think it's interesting to hear this because I think we all can learn from others about how to prepare, how to be detail oriented, that type of thing.
Well, I'll start with the host role. I think because, that's what I'm doing the morning show, all week this week. And I host a daily talk show. I've always been a talk show listener, talk show lover. When I was younger, I mean, I used to listen to Art Wander on WGR, the Tiny Tot of the Kilowatt. Art Wander actually wrote me a letter of recommendation to Syracuse because I called his show as a high school student and would talk to him all the time.
That's amazing.
Yeah, right. And I called him one day. I'm like, hey, I want to talk to you off the air. And he did, which is amazing. And so I was always kind of an old soul as a kid listening to talk radio, right? And I've always been passionate about talk radio. And one thing, the thing that I've learned over the years and how I prepare is you're going to have your things you need to hit on, right? Like, okay, we got to talk about Bills OTAs. What's the storyline? You got to be prepared. James Cook's not there. Joey Bosa's injured. Like, these are things we need to talk about. You can't just go on, but we don't do, it's not a newscast. I'm not going on the radio to do a 2 or 4 hour talk show and say, hey, James Cook didn't show up at OTAs. Next, it's okay. What is the situation there? How does it impact? You got to form a conversation around it. So you have to advance the story. What does it look like next week? What does it look like if he's not there? Joey Bosa, is this a bad contract signing? Does this mean what happens with now the 2 suspensions and him and how this all works? So you have to have that. So there's all of that goes into it. Then you look at your other kind of fun stuff that's going on, right? That maybe might not resonate as well. Like, we're not a big basketball town, but hey, Knicks Pacers tonight, right? Yep. We got to throw something in there. Like, maybe have a fun conversation. Like, man, when I grew up, I hated the Knicks. I like this team now. They're kind of likable, but I'm rooting for the Pacers. Here's why. Oh yeah, let me tell you about Reggie Miller at the Garden, in the 1990s. Things like that happen. But I think the biggest thing that really has allowed me, I think, to kind of flourish and be better as a talk show host throughout the years is I've learned that you talk about life because it's a relationship with the listener. One of the criticisms I get on me is you talk about your son too much. You talk about your family too much. And there are people who say that, and I get it. Way more people say to me, "Oh my God, that story you told about your son today, I can totally relate." That way, he goes, people are like, "I'm driving and laughing. I went through the same thing 3 years ago with my kid when they were 10 years old." And those like talk radio is a relationship between the host and the listener. And a lot of these people are listening for 3 or 4 hours at a time. They're driving around in their cars. They feel like they know you. And you're having a conversation with them. It might be one-sided because you're talking, they're listening, but it's really a conversation because they're going, "Oh my God, this is right. I totally know this. I remember this, what it was like for me when I was like that." So you take little things in life and they become big stories. You never know. You never know what's going to hit and become a really big story. So for example, like today, we were talking about we were talking about Kevin Bacon. For some reason, how do we get on Kevin Bacon? I don't remember. And all of a sudden I said, "Well, it's like this is what it was." I'm like, "Well, it's like the 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon." We were talking about Jaromir Jagr. Here's what happened. We were talking about Jaromir Jagr and all the different people he played with. And I said to Joe DiBiase's like 30 years old. And I'm like, "It's like 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon." He's like, "What is that?" I'm like, "Joe, you don't know the 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon?" So I had to explain it to him. So then we got into actors and movies and who was playing and who with, it became a fun conversation. Right now, for some people, I'll get emails or tweets. "Oh my God, talk about sports." I get it. We're a sports talk show, but there's only so many times I can talk about who the Bills' right guard is and how he's performing all the time, right? It can't be Bills, Sabres, Bills, Sabres every second of every day. I think it's a relationship. I think that. So that's how I prepare for that. As a reporter, I just have to kind of know, what kind of the schedule is, what's going on. There's a press conference coming up. What are the things I need to ask Sean McDermott? What are the things I need to ask players? If I know, for example, this is OTAs, we only get this week and next week to go one day each to talk to players. Like there's a certain player I want to talk to. I got to get him. Like I got to prepare. Like who am I going to get? I might want to take video or picture of that guy when I'm at practice, but I want to talk to him because there might be a story I want to do on him. Those are the ways you kind of prepare as a reporter. You kind of know the storylines and you know the questions. But honestly, there's so many people there. It's going to take care of itself. You're in these press conferences and there's 30 people in the room and, they're asking the same questions you're thinking of asking. So you're going to get all that. And then when it comes to the games, you watch the league, right? I'm a fan of the NFL. I watch around the league. And when it comes time to playing that team in that game, if the Bills are playing the Cleveland Browns, I'll make sure I go back and kind of watch the Browns' last game, see what they've been doing, look over their stats. One thing we have to really take advantage of in this business is these teams have incredible PR departments who give you everything you need. And you got to take advantage of it. Like the game notes you get from the Bills, or in the Browns case, the away team, especially because you're learning about them. It's pretty remarkable. And a lot of the stuff you have for your broadcast is stuff that the team is saying, "Oh, here are the game notes." You're like, "Oh, okay." And you learn about the players, but you do a lot of research on your own about that and kind of what to talk about. So I think taking advantage of all the resources available to you to prepare for a team and a game and learn about the players and the team itself is a big part of the job.
Yeah, it's like that intense curiosity, right? It's
Yeah.
like if you're really interested and curious in something, the information's at your fingertips, especially in this day and age. I mean, we don't all have the PR departments like you talked about. That'd be pretty
Right.
amazing, but you can learn about basically whatever you want now. And you were talking about basically being in the business of trust, right? Because like the listeners got to trust you. That resonates with me in terms of what we do. I will say I give you a lot of credit with the way you've built your brand on social media. Not just on social media, just in general, but on social media, I think in this day and age, it's so easy to build a followership or followers, I should say, with like clickbaity, like sensational stuff. I feel like I never see that from you. Like it's straightforward. It's like, hey, this is what's going on. You're providing valuable insight. Do you ever feel oh man, it'd be interesting if I posted like something kind of crazy? Or I'm guessing not.
Never really had the itch.
That's good.
Yeah, never, because I think that could just go down a road I don't want to go down.
Yep.
I don't want to put myself in that position. It's not me, and I wouldn't handle it well. Sometimes sometimes I get, into it when other people do, or something like that. I'm like, ooh, this is cool. Like, it's not that I think there's anything wrong with it from certain aspects, certain ways. It's just not me. It's not what I do. But this goes back to what we talked about earlier, which is my job is to provide insight, not to be hot taking. I think that's the hot takey part, right? Which is when you put these headlines out. Now, I will say if Matt Bove and I doing a podcast, Always Game Day in Buffalo, we talk about James Cook not being there. What's a better headline? James Cook's not at OTAs, or or something like, hey, what's the future of James Cook in Buffalo? We might do that because
Of course.
that's what the discussion is, and the headline gets a little more traction. But I don't need to, clickbaity stuff. That's the other thing. Like, even if I just kind of tweet something that people thinks is like that, sometimes they're like on Twitter, they're like, oh, this is good for the clicks. I'm like, there's nothing to click. I just wrote something for you to read. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, there's nothing to click here.
Yeah.
If I read a story on the WGR website, it's generally like my arrow up, arrow down. I'm working on a story right now just about Elijah Moore. I had a really good one-on-one with Elijah Moore, the Bills wide receiver. I thought it was really cool, some of the insight he gave. And I'm just going through the quotes. And I actually, before I came on with you, I was thinking about like, what's a good way to get people into this story? And like, one of his quotes was why he chose to come to Buffalo when he could have got more money and stayed for more money in Cleveland. And he's like, I'm betting on myself. He goes, I work my ass off and I'm going to show it. And that's a great headline. That's a quote from him though, right? Like, that's to me, that's as much of that as you'll get from me, which is I'll take a really good quote that's nice, that says some, oh, I want to read that and what that guy said.
Yeah, but that's fair. I mean, like, obviously you believe in what you're doing and you put a lot of time and energy into it. You want people to read it like that.
Of course.
That's totally fair. Do you ever, like, I know you got a huge following on Twitter, like, or I guess it's X now, but no one calls it X. At some point they got to change it back. But do you ever like fire one off and you're like, ugh, here we go? Or like you feel like your phone blowing up? Like, how does that work?
Yeah. But first of all, I do not get notifications on my phone.
Smart.
All that. Oh my God, I'm with some of my media colleague friends and their phones are going off all the time. Like, dude, how do you do that? Like, they have notifications set for like every person, everyone, like Schefter and Rappaport, and any mentions. I'm like, how do you, I'll check when I check, right? I can't deal with that. Sure. I think that happens sometimes, but you know what, to be honest with you, it's more so for, okay, so here would be a really good example. If we were if Stephon Diggs still played for the Bills and everything that happened over the last 24 hours, right?
Yeah.
This is the part of the job that I hate. I got to cover that story. I mean, I don't have to now. I'm saying in that example, I would have to cover that story. If it was Buffalo, I would have to. And I'd have to write a story and I'd have to tweet about it. And that's when you get people, there are people literally thinking you're doing it because you are, I want to show you, I'm going to write this story. But no, it's just a job. I got to do it. Like, I hate the fact I got to do it, but I got to write the story. I got to put it out there. Stephon Diggs on a boat with the substance or whatever. And you're going to get so many people coming at you like, oh, clickbaity headline. Who cares? Okay, dude, but I'm just doing my job. Just doing my job. Like that.
And if you didn't write anything about it, you'd
correct
catch it too.
Like, and if I didn't write anything about it, I get people on the other way. Yeah, that's exactly right. What they were going to go, I can't believe you wouldn't write anything about it. You're such a homer.
Yeah. I think that's smart with like turning the alerts off, especially with what you do. And that's, I think I would love to hear like kind of like how you handle, I don't know if I want to call it work-life balance, but how you make sure that you're present, for your wife and your son. Like, how do you do that, especially when, the information loop is 24/7, especially in your world? How do you kind of, manage your time that way?
Well, number one, this goes back to what I said earlier, which is if you have people in your life that support you and love you, like, it's a lot easier. I mean, I'll give you two really good stories here and examples of things that happened, but these are examples of why, like, my wife and my son know what I do for a living, and they know that I don't have a 9-to-5 job. Like, it at any point something can happen and I got to deal with it, talk about it. It could be great, it could be terrible, whatever it is. It's got to happen. And there has never, I will tell you, I've been married 22 years now. There has never once in my 22 years of marriage been a time where my wife, Yana, I'll say her name because I haven't said it yet. I should. She's amazing. Where my wife, Yana, has said to me, oh my God, I can't believe you got to work today. Oh my God, I can't believe you got to go and talk about this on the radio. Like, we were supposed to do this. In fact, just the opposite. So we were driving to our anniversary dinner. I don't remember what year it was. It had to be this had to be 2018. So it would have been our 15-year wedding anniversary. We're driving to our anniversary dinner and we're just going out for dinner for anniversary, and literally driving. And I get an alert. The Bills just traded Tyrod Taylor. And I'm like, oh man, the Bills just traded Tyrod Taylor. And my wife, Yana, looks at me and goes, do you need to pull over so I can drive so you can make a couple phone calls? No, that's
amazing.
Right. And then we were walking into Sabres Tucks and Pucks. You ever, Tucks and Pucks, they do the New Year's Eve thing, right?
Yeah.
Tucks and Pucks, New Year's Eve. Go to New Year's Eve, Tucks and Pucks, 2014, New Year's Eve. And I'm dressed up, ready to have a night out. All of a sudden I get an alert. Doug Marrone just opted out of his Bills contract.
Yeah.
And I looked at my wife and I go, okay, well, I wasn't going to work on New Year's Day, but I'm going to have to work on New Year's Day now. All right, here we go, right? Like we knew. We still went in. We had a great time. In fact, Brian Colzio was doing the Sabres game night that night, as he has been for a long time. And when that happened, he texted me. He's like, hey, can you come on during one of the intermissions and talk about this? I'm like, yeah, sure. Like, that's my job. I'm there to give information and give my opinions. Like my job doesn't stop because of my life, but my life doesn't stop because of my job, right? I mean, I think that's the way you have to look at it, and you have to have that balance. There's going to be times where, you have that time to spend with your family. We do that. We love to travel. And I think one of the things that's really helped me is, here's another funny one. 2017 draft. Right after the draft, draft ends on a Saturday. Sunday morning, we're on our way. We're getting ready to go to the gym. Get an alert. Doug Whaley and his whole staff just got fired. Press conference at noon. Okay, I got to go back down to the stadium. I was just there for 3 days, right?
Yeah.
But those are things that happen. But then later the day, you're like, okay, now is our time to kind of spend together. And you have to be aware of that. You have to be cognizant of that. One of the things that helped me, though, is my boss, Alan Davis, and the other people I work with at Odyssey, Tim Wenger, before him, Tim Holly, before him, Greg Reed, like my GMs, they are great about if I say, hey, I need a day. They are great if I say, hey, I'm going on vacation, whatever. Like, there's never a second. They know I grind, right? They know we all do, right? And they know that, hey, like Sal, during the season, he'll be where he needs to be when he needs to be there. Totally. You need some time. You go take your time, go on for your vacation, whatever you got to do. And that really helps. When you have people in your life that understand and respect that goes a long way.
Yeah, that's everything. It's funny too. I tell people, like, we work with, like, this is like, hey, look, when you become that really reliable person, the person who we know is always willing to go above and beyond, who's always there in a pinch, like, yeah, we know you need time, or like whatever you need, like, we're here to help you. Like, you have that mutual respect. You're talking about, like, being out and about and kind of randomly getting, kind of really crazy news or information about the Bills. Was there maybe like a story or a time or something that you reported on that you felt like kind of like gave you, like, we'll call it, like, for the lack of a better term, like your first big break, or when people really started to say, okay, this is a guy we're really going to follow. He knows what he's doing.
100%. This is easy. No doubt. I was the person who broke the news that Terrell Owens was signing with the Buffalo Bills when I was down in Florida before I came up to Buffalo. And that's how I got
down there.
And that's how I got people to start knowing who I was while I was doing this podcast in Mom's basement. And then they started listening, right? It was kind of crazy.
Yeah.
And the story is that, without getting into details, I won't reveal sources, right? This was 2009, and I was coaching track and field. And down in Florida, the way they do it, I don't know, guess they might do it like this a little bit here, but we had these big meets every Thursdays, Fridays, Saturdays, like around those times. And like 20 schools would come together for these really big meets. But you'd go, like, the meet would start probably at 4:00 in the afternoon and go pretty much all night. And I remember it was one of those nights. I was ready to go coach a track meet, and I get a phone call, and somebody I know says, hey, guess who's coming to dinner? That was literally the way it was phrased to me. Like, who's coming to dinner? What are you talking about? The Bills are going to sign Terrell Owens. What? Yeah. I'm like, it was almost like pretty sure this is happening. Like, it's not 100%, but pretty sure this is happening. I'm like, okay, I'm about to go coach this track meet. Why don't you, basically, I'm telling the person, like, okay, you got to know this for sure before I put anything out. Like, I can't do this. Now, Twitter kind of had just started. I think I had just started right at that year, 2009, on social media, on Twitter. And I was doing my show, and I'm like, okay, I don't know what to do with this information. I can't kind of run with it right now. I'm down here, and I'm not really doing a podcast tonight. I'm going to go coach this track meet. Let me know later tonight what you find out. So I go coach the track meet later and like, this is happening, Sally. This is happening. Now I have to trust somebody, right? Now,
Yeah.
That person could give me all of they could believe it 100%. It doesn't have to be true or happen, right? It doesn't mean they have ill intention with me. So now I have a decision. Okay, here's the way this can go. Either if I put it out there and it's not true, I'm done. Like I'm done. Like nobody's going to believe me. This guy in mom's basement truly is a guy in mom's basement who's just trying to be a wannabe. That's what it's going to be, no doubt. And nobody's going to believe me anymore. If I don't put it out and it happens, I miss my shot.
Yep.
Here's my shot.
Opportunity cost.
What do I want to do? So I went on I was active on message boards at the time. Remember message boards? Right?
Yeah.
I was active on message boards at the time. Went on a message board and I said, hey, this is going to happen. And then people are like, oh, wait a minute. And I had a pretty good reputation on the message boards. And they're like, wait a minute, if you're saying it, I might believe it. So other people are like, ha ha, screw you. You should want to be. You're going to get killed for this. Never going to happen. He'd never come to Buffalo. Like I got both sides of it. All of a sudden it started percolating. Now, this was on a Friday night, I believe, if I remember. The next day was, again, my anniversary, because my anniversary falls right in March when free agency and a lot of this stuff is happening and, right before the draft with that trade I told you about and all that. So, again, my wife and I, before kids, we actually had anniversary plans. We went down to a casino. We went to the casino that night in Florida. We went to the casino. And during the day is when stuff started kind of percolating where, wait a minute, this could actually happen. Like, wait a minute, Sal reported this. All of a sudden, as the day is going on, I'm getting more and more people going, hey, this, like you reported this, like this could happen, but it still wasn't sure yet. And so there were still people going, no way, no way, no way. Andy Roth, who hired me at WGR, called me during the day. And he's like, hey, what do you know about this? Can you come on the air? Can you talk about it? You're down there. I'm like, yeah, sure. Because, now I'm a resource for them. And I did. And nobody still knew what was going on. Well, suddenly it happened. And I remember I'm at the casino that night and I get a phone call from Andy Roth. And he says to me, he says, I love Andy. He's great. He goes, congratulations. You just broke the biggest sports story in Buffalo in decades.
Awesome.
And I was like, oh my God, this is happening. And then thankfully, I will say, because in this day and age, especially, you don't get a lot of this now because so many people, I mean, if this had happened in 2025, I don't know if it would be like this because so many people would kind of have it quick and they'd get credit even though I'm first.
Right.
But I will say that I got credit. Like people were giving Adam Schefter, Ian Rappaport, like everybody was giving me credit. And it was great because I put it on Twitter. And I even remember the one I remember was Pro Football Talk and Mike Florio. And it started with a tweet from Sal Capaccio, and then it became a reality or something like that. It said, and it was all about it. And then I had all the local Buffalo stations calling me, TV stations. Yeah. They want to do interviews with me. And that's how my kind of name got out there. And people tell me to this day, I started listening and following you when you broke the TO news, 2009.
That's the thing. You just never know. Like you just never know what's going to do that. How do you, I mean, like you just talked about it, but I'm just curious, like in this day and age, like is there like a certain level of certainty you have to be about something like, and I know you probably don't look at it like this, but like I'm like 80% certain or 90%, I'm rolling with it because I got to balance it against the opportunity cost. I want to be first, or I want to be known for, having this information before others. Do you like evaluate it that way in your head?
Yeah. So there could be, to be honest with you, many times I'm first to report something, but it's not as important to me. My boss has ingrained in me, and Alan says this all the time, and he's right. It's way better to be right than first. I don't have to be first. You don't have to be first. Just be right. Just be right. Don't be wrong. Just be right. You do not have to be first. Just be right when you talk and say it. And if it's happening and you know what's happening, you could do it. You don't have to be right. I will tell you countless times how many times I know something. This just happened. I mean, but here's what I do. If I know something's happening, first of all, there's a saying there's a principle we hold to in this business. You got to have two sources to confirm something, right?
Okay.
Somebody tells you something, get another source, but that can be massaged if it's coming from a certain source, right?
Right.
If Brandon Bean calls me and says, I'm going to sign this guy, I don't need a second source.
No.
You know what I mean? Like he's telling me. Not that Brandon Bean would do that, but you get my point, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So I will tell you, I knew Matt Milano's contract was getting restructured before anybody did. But because of the way it was told to me and by the people were told to me, I'm not running with that because I didn't get it confirmed necessarily by the Buffalo Bills, right? Like that's something you got to do. In my business, like I was told, I'm like, okay, I think this is happening. So I call the Bills like, hey, they're working on some things we can't, they're going to protect themselves, right? So you're going through that, and that's okay. I totally respect that. But what I do then is I go on the radio and I allude to it, which helps me, right? Hey, I wouldn't be surprised. Maybe you get a restructure from Milano. You say something like that. You're not reporting it's happening, but you give the idea and the impression, hopefully people are paying attention, that you kind of know what you're talking about. You know what I mean?
Wink. Yeah, I'm going to be on the lookout for that.
Right. And I do that a lot, by the way. I do that a lot. So, I mean, listen, I'll give you one. For 2 months, I told people the Bills were going to draft 2 defensive linemen and a defensive back at their first 3 picks.
You did.
I said it for 2 months. Do you think I just made that up?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough. As you strike me as somebody who obviously you're very humble and you haven't forgotten about how you've gotten to where you are and who's helped you along the way, who continues to help you. Is there any like, maybe one person who you think has been a great mentor to you, or maybe you could speak to like the importance of having like a mentor in your, I guess like your desired career path?
Yeah, I think the person I've mentioned a lot so far, Alan, my boss, Alan Davis, he's been great. He's really kind of taught me a lot. He knows radio better than anybody's ever known radio in my life. I really believe like he was Colin Cowherd's program director in Portland before Colin went to ESPN radio and then Fox Sports and all that. But he gave Dan Schulman one of his first jobs ever in radio. Dan Schulman mentioned Alan Davis in his like Broadcasters Hall of Fame speech. It's how much of an impact he had on, getting him. He hired, I think, like the current Detroit Red Wings play-by-play guy for his first job. Alan's been around a long time. He's from Nova Scotia. He's worked in Toronto. He's worked in Ottawa. He's worked in Kansas City. He's worked in Portland. Like he worked like Nick Wright. I think he worked under him. My point is like, he knows radio. He's had all these personalities and it's been really great. He's been on stations that have had rights to teams and stations that haven't had rights to teams, and how all those dynamics come together and how we have to kind of formulate the puzzle and put it together to make sure that we're doing it the right way. So I think Alan's been a really, really great mentor to me. I would say John Murphy's been a great mentor. One thing I learned about Murph is Murph doesn't have an ego. He's just there to help people. And I really love that. And before I moved to Buffalo, there was a year where I didn't know I was coming. Like it was just, I came up and I went to training camp one day and I was like, oh, I'm going to go to training camp. And I happened to be in Buffalo. And I said, as long as I'm here, because I think people can be resourceful, obviously. I totally out of the blue called Channel 4 in Buffalo. John Murphy was the sports director. I called Channel 4 and I said, hey, can I talk to John Murphy? Sure. They put me through to sports. I said, hey, Murph, my name's Sal Capaccio. I went to Syracuse like you, and I'm getting in the business, and I'd really just love to pick your brain. He's like, oh my God, come by. I really went over, sat with him for 2 hours, and we just talked about shop and sports and the Bills and the business. And, that just spoke to me that he was willing to do that. So Murph was always a mentor to me, watching, how he went about his business. And because Murph, remember, was a sports director on TV, he was a talk show host, play-by-play announcer. He's done it all. So I think that was that's been a really big one for me. I think that I take things from people too that aren't necessarily, here, that I've worked with. I watch from afar. Like, I actually really respect like how Colin Cowherd does his talk show. He's not a mentor to me, but I look at that and I listen to him and how he formulates doing a show with no callers, right? And his opinions. Doesn't mean you have to agree. I'm not saying that like I agree with everything he says, but I love the way he does his show. Like I take a lot of it from other people and bring it. And those are on the professional side, no doubt. From the personal side, I would say, my coaches in life growing up were like second dads to me in a lot of ways. I talk about my football coaches, and Carl Curris was a great mentor to mine. He was my athletic director and defensive coordinator at Cleveland Hill High School. They named the field after him. He actually started and founded what's now called the Trench Trophy. It's given to the best offensive or defensive lineman in high school football in Western New York. And they never had an award like that. And he actually did that, and he set that up. And I go every year now to be the presenter for this award for him. And he passed away last year, but I still do it because he meant so much to me in my life. And we would stay in contact. Even when I was in Florida, Glenn Graham, he was a football coach of mine, and he's actually just retired recently. Like these are people that, just had such an impact on me and how I should live my life, the character part of it. And, really treating people the right way. And I think that's, like really crossed over, professionally.
Yeah, that's huge. I mean, and mentorship is so important. And I sometimes I have like, maybe like younger people ask me like, how to do this or how to that. And I'm like, I always tell them like, look, you got to have a great mentor, whether it's this person, me, somebody else. It doesn't have to be in your career field. Like it's important. And actually you find that people are really willing to do it because most people, understand like, hey, I probably wouldn't be here today if I didn't have people who helped me along the way. And I think most
Yeah.
of us, at whatever level you're at, you want to continue to give back because you're just fortunate that others were willing to do that for you. Um, as you've gone through this journey, are there any, or how do you just, I guess, in general, like deal with setbacks or little failures? Like, how do you pick yourself back up when something doesn't go your way?
It's a good question. I think that you first have to have a conviction in yourself and belief that, what you're doing, you're still doing it the right way. And you might have something that, didn't go your way, or, I have been wrong once or twice, not for making things up, but you get information that you trust and it doesn't work out, right? Something like that. Or you go about something the wrong way and somebody doesn't like it and you have to hear about it, and those things hurt me because, it's not that people are having bad intentions when those things happen, but you feel like you disappointed people, right? It's like your whole thing where you don't want to, your mom and dad, like if your mom and dad say you're mad at you, it's one thing. Say you're disappointed in you, it's a totally different deal.
The worst.
And you don't want people to be disappointed in you. And that's what, so how do I pick myself up? I think I just kind of take a step back and, I'm not going to say shut it off, but I kind of reset a little bit. I try to recalibrate. I try to put my mind to other things that'll get me back to, I try not to sit in it, I guess. That's the best way to put it. I try not to sit in it. If I sit in it, I don't get into great places and I don't love doing that. That's not me. And I know that. So I kind of have to figure out what to do. I might work out or something, I go and do a workout and say, okay, I do a workout. I feel better about myself, because there's a lot of balance that you have to do with that. And if I can feel a little better physically, maybe that'll help me feel better mentally about, what's going on, because, it'll be a new day and people forget about what happened, or at least they'll, jump to the next thing or something like that.
Yeah. It's like, learn from it, short memory.
The other
move
thing is,
on.
I will tell you that I try to do is, I think this is just a really big thing for anybody, but you just take accountability. You tell people you're sorry and you explain what happened on your end, right? I mean, it's okay to do that. We all should do that. You say like, hey, I messed up, man. I'm really sorry. Here's why. I remember one time where, I was in the locker room and Aaron Williams, remember Aaron Williams played for the Bills?
Oh yeah.
And Aaron Williams said, they were playing the Patriots, and the Patriots kicked the Bills' tails all during those times. And he said something like, yeah, I really don't like the Patriots. And I think I tweeted something like, Aaron Williams said he hates the Patriots, right? It was something simple, but a couple other media members like, that's not right. He didn't say that, and hate's a strong word. And I'm like, oh, I went back and listened. I'm right. I'm like, right. Okay. So I corrected it. And I went up to Aaron Williams the next day and said, hey, man, I'm really sorry. I don't know if that caused you any problems, but I want you to know, like, when I was listening, it was just really quick. And I put it, he's like, oh no, dude, you're good. Like, and he didn't have to be like that. I mean, maybe he didn't even know I did that, to be quite honest with you. He probably wasn't even paying attention. But like, I just thought it helped me to tell him that and to say, I'm sorry that I might've caused him an issue.
Accountability is huge. Owning it is huge. I could just tell you, in my line of work, the number of instances or the number of cases that we get that if somebody had just owned up to it and said that they were sorry, the person who came to us never would have called us.
That's right.
Like it's all the time. Like it's that lack of accountability, and then people get upset, and then it goes to the next level. And I think that's really great advice. I want to just end with a couple of Bills or maybe like local Buffalo media questions. There's so much happening with technology
Yes.
and the world and everything. Do you see journalism, especially here locally,
Right.
changing it all over the next few years?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, like, but I've seen it change so much already, right? I mean, I think that we're in this space where there's so many more content creators that you're kind of trying to navigate this space with and either A, compete with or collaborate with, or both in a lot of ways, right? Here, and I think that what's happened here is, and this goes to, like, people always say, like, what's the best advice you can give, kids in this business? And maybe that's a question you would have asked, but I'll tell you, because it relates to this question. The business has changed so much. You kind of have to be able to do everything. When I got in radio, I went into talking to Mike. I didn't go into it to write on a website. I hate writing for my website. It's just the reality, but I got to do it, right? Like that's part of my job. When people got hired to be in print news, like the Buffalo News, I don't think they got into that to be on the radio or to do podcasts and video, but they do that now because you have to, because we all have to do that, right? I remember walking into the Bills media room one day years ago, 2012, 13, somewhere around there, and I see Adam Benini from Channel 2. And he comes in, he's got a camera. I'm like, Adam, what do you got a camera for? You talk. He goes, oh no, I got to do everything now. Like we shoot our own stuff. We got to edit. You know, you got to do everything now. It doesn't mean you have to be great at everything, but that's how it's changed. And it's changing even more so like that. Like there's all these new ways that everybody can just kind of turn on and do their own thing. And you got to be able to kind of keep up with all that. And I always tell kids or people that want to do this, don't let that overwhelm you. You don't have to be great at everything. Don't let it overwhelm you, but you got to at least understand how it all works and how to do it. We're doing this podcast. Like, I mean, you started your own thing, right? I mean, that's what people do now.
Yeah.
And you kind of have to be able to do that on your own in a little ways. Gone are the dinosaurs of I'm just going to write my column every week. That doesn't happen anymore. You got to be kind of multifaceted here. And I think going forward, that's going to happen more and more. I think a lot of the challenge, and it's not as much locally, but it does happen locally because we have pro sports teams and even college teams here, obviously, is teams control their own message now through their own media arms, right? Like the Bills have their own media platform with their own shows and, you know, their own social media and all the ways that they do things. And the Sabres have it, but every team does, every league does. And it really kind of restricts a lot of it takes away the ability for people who cover the teams to give you that information because they're giving it to you themselves. And you kind of have to understand and navigate that space and find, okay, well, if they're doing that, you know, what is my role and how can I supplement and make sure that people are still getting the right coverage on my end?
All right. Last question. You get to, I mean, this is going to be interesting. You get to paint the perfect Bills Super Bowl picture. And I mean, you get to pick and I can even start with, you get to pick who they beat in the AFC Championship, where it's held, who they play in the Super Bowl, how that ends. If you could kind of paint that picture, you get to pick today, how would that look?
How would like the Super Bowl itself look? And
you can, however you want to take it, like, hey, they'd play this team, they'd win on a final drive, like whatever you want.
Oh boy. Okay. Wouldn't be like that, I don't think. You know what? You know, I will tell you, I remember one of my greatest memories ever in sports as a fan was being at the 1990 AFC Championship game, January of 91, at home against the Raiders. The Bills had never been to a Super Bowl. They were up 41-3 at halftime. And everyone knew they were going to the Super Bowl for an hour and a half in that stadium. And it was the greatest experience and feeling you could ever have as a sports fan. There was no angst. That to me, like, if you want to talk about like winning on the last play, last field goal, walk off, there's angst, right? It's like, oh my God, you almost can't enjoy the moment because I mean, I've been in those games, right? And the Bills win on a walk off. They beat Miami to win the division a few years ago in the snow. They've lost with 13 seconds. You have the highest of highs, the lowest of lows. But man, the perfect game against the Patriots, you knew they were winning the whole game and you just enjoyed it with everyone and you soaked it up. So if I had to write the script, it would be in the Eastern time zone because I think that it would be better for the team to kind of be like people to be able to go to the games and the timing and the team to come home. Because I say that because I think about this year being in San Francisco and what my life would look like if I have to go cover practice when they're 3 hours behind and go on the radio in the morning. That's why I say that, by the way.
Yeah.
All right. So be in the Eastern time zone. But either way, it doesn't matter. I don't know. Who would they play? Ooh, I don't know who they'd play. Maybe the Dallas Cowboys.
Okay.
Team that's beaten them twice.
Love that.
The star, right? Yeah, maybe the Dallas Cowboys. And they just pound them. And they do what the Cowboys did to the Bills when it was, 52-17 or whatever, and they just, whoever it is, you just know they're going to win and we can all enjoy it together for an hour and a half and we don't have to worry about it. Like that to me is the script.
Love that perspective. The only thing I can compare that to is the last couple of years of the Bandits. When it's like where they're just crushing teams.
How cool was last Saturday night?
Nuts.
How cool
Amazing.
was it? Right?
Amazing.
Like and I was at the game the year before and they won, but it was a little closer, obviously. but you kind of knew they were going to win towards the end. It got there, but man, it's anticipation. What's going to happen? And you don't break my heart. Don't break my heart. You're up 41-3 at halftime and your heart's not getting broken. You're enjoying it.
Awesome. Love the perspective. I definitely agree with you now. And look, I want to really thank you for your time. It's been an amazing conversation. And again, you're the man. I just really appreciate you taking the time to do this.
Yeah, you got it, man. I appreciate you having me.
Thanks, man. Thanks for listening to Angles. If this episode made you think, smile, or see something in a new way, follow us wherever you get your podcasts. Leave a review and share it with friends. You can also follow us on social media. Angles is produced by Brett Tuttle. I'm John Richmond. See you next time.